My name is Tessa Beck, and I am coming to you from Long Lake, Minnesota on a gorgeous late October afternoon, early evening. I'm super flattered to be asked to answer 3 questions for international paneling, and I figured I'll just get right into it. So the first question asks, can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're working and living, a little bit about your training and history, as well as maybe some of the artists that you admire as well. So I'll start by saying, again, my name is Tessa Beck, and I'm the executive director of the Nemeth Art Center, which is located in Park Rapids, Minnesota. I grew up in a rural Midwestern town with limited arts access, and I had an abundance of curiosity for life and experiences outside of that context. And I feel really fortunate to have found my current direction, and because of my childhood experience, I'm really passionate about expanding arts access and opportunities both for audiences and for artists beyond major metropolitan areas. I am currently based in Fargo, and I spend our season, which is from May through September, dividing my time between there and northern Minnesota. I started my undergraduate studies at North Dakota State University, emphasizing in writing and journalism, thinking that I wanted to become some sort of arts, fashion, lifestyle editor. But my direction shifted pretty early on toward visual art after enrolling in an art history survey taught by the brilliant and now retired Chris Groberg. Simultaneously, I started working as the assistant to the director of Etche Gallery under the direction of Mark Weiler. And so between the two of them, they really kind of acted as really early critical mentors that kind of shifted me toward the direction that I'm currently operating under. I also had the opportunity to study abroad in Berlin, which, looking back now, I realize really provided the confirmation that I needed to totally pour myself into curatorial and studio practice direction. I've also had opportunities to work in New York, as well as with the artist and publisher Cameron Gaynor for his Minneapolis gallery project. So all of those things together kind of rounded up my early training and provided me with the experience I needed to take on this directorial role now. The hardest part of this question is certainly the artists I admire section, only because I have so many. So I'll try to keep it kind of more regional and also as concise as possible. Starting with Aaron Spengler, who's a Park Rapids-based sculptor and printmaker who works primarily in wood carving. The content of his work deals with the complicated rural American landscape and associated mythologies. And Spengler is the vice chair of the Nemeth board, and when he and his wife, Amy Phelan, who's a chef and food writer, permanently relocated back to Park Rapids after a decade in New York, it was Aaron who played a pivotal role in shifting the Nemeth's direction toward contemporary art and more active public programming. And in addition to that, I stay with Amy and Aaron at their Two Inlets home during the season, and so I just feel really fortunate to have that type of proximity to such talented and visionary people. And I love Aaron's work, and I also love him so much as a person too. The next artist I wanted to highlight is Megan Duda, who's a Fargo, North Dakota-based photographer who focuses mainly on experimental analog processes and building camera technologies that record her chosen subject matter in innovative ways. My favorite body of work from her is her Trailer Obscura series, wherein she built a pinhole camera from a trailer and drove it across the vast flat prairie landscape, so with sometimes exposures of an upwards of 40 or more minutes. And in doing that, she essentially was able to flatten time and subject down to this single, still, dreamy image. She's an artist that is constantly innovating while maintaining such a sleek and sexy physical surface to her work. And she's an artist that I think deserves a wider national and international audience and collector base, and I can't wait to see that come together for her. And the last artist that I wanted to highlight in this section is Lauren Roche, who divides her time between St. Louis, Missouri and Mille Lacs, or the Mille Lacs area of Minnesota. She's a self-taught artist known mainly for her figural drawings that blur the boundaries of physical reality and memory. And in her graphic, vestigial works on paper, human subjects, which are almost always women, share space and ritual with varying animals and plant life. And the scenes feel like a temporary respite from this looming and ever-present hazard. She's an artist that, after only discovering her work a few years ago, the progress has been incredible in her technique and the way that she's organizing her compositions and the narrative surrounding it. And I'm so happy that she's getting a reaction and public support and a collector base for what she's doing, because they're just some of the most, has such a physical reaction to them, and I'm happy for her. Question number 2. Can you give us a bit of background on the Nemeth Art Center and describe the art scene in the Park Rapids area and how it fits into the national and international art scenes? So first, a little background on the Nemeth. It was originally founded in 1977 as a North Country Museum of Art after the citizens of Park Rapids communally fundraised to purchase a collection of historical study paintings. And like I mentioned not too long ago, it was in 2011 where the direction shifted toward contemporary art exhibitions and expanded youth programming. And our overall goal or mission, I would say, is to decentralize arts access for our rural population and to provide a platform for local and regional artists to connect to and expand to bigger markets. Starting from this artist-run, DIY, low-budget space has actually allowed the Nemeth to sort of skirt a lot of formal curatorial constraints, and it really promotes experimentation from artists and unexpected curatorial decisions, and that's something that is really important to me, and I think is like the closest thing that reminds me of my experience in galleries. And I hope that even if I'm able to expand the reach and the budget of this place, I hope that that spirit doesn't become stifled. And so to describe a little bit about the art scene in this area, and also the context, the social context in the landscape, Park Rapids is located 20 minutes from the headwaters of the Mississippi River and at the confluence of 3 separate tribal populations. So though the town is quite small, with approximately just over 4,000 occupants, the richness of the landscape and the socially diverse environment has created a reputation for rich craftsmanship and a flourishing arts community. There's, I think, this sense of pride taken in, surviving such a harsh but beautiful and extreme environment, and you see it in the craftsmanship, in the support for the arts, even the food culture here. I mean, what we do is so driven by the landscape, and even though it's quite rural and not considered, I would say, like an arts hub, I think it's really rich in potential. And so to just elaborate a bit more about how the Nemeth fits into the national and international scene, there's that saying that goes something along the lines of if you want to consume culture, you should live in a city. If you want to produce or make culture, it's best to live in a rural place or population. And although rural places and the Midwest in general aren't typically considered cultural hubs, I do see this idea proving itself time and again. And after the last year or so, the conversation around that rural and urban dichotomy seems to be under yet another shift. And so having the opportunity to not feel such an oversaturated need in the form of a rural art center showing international internationally celebrated artist seems less absurd to me all the time. And I can be a bit of an optimist, but we'll see. And then lastly, question number 3, what are you excited about working on in the future? So I just wanted to say briefly that our 2021 season was fabulous and was really about kind of laying the groundwork for us to be able to take advantage of the really exciting opportunities that we have coming up. This year we had a career survey from T.L. Celine, followed by Alex Soth's Paris, Minnesota series, and then that was accompanied with a solo show by Rachel Collier. And we also rebranded and put like a renewed emphasis on our online archive and remote programming. So I guess what's exciting is we have an incredible lineup coming up for next year as well. Most notably, we have a show of new paintings from Dana Schutz, and that'll be part of a 2-person show with her husband, the sculptor Ryan Johnson. We also have ceramicist Ginny Sims, who's Minneapolis-based. On deck, we've got Toad Lake, Minnesota, and Chicago-based Marianne Papanek Miller coming in, bringing us a body of mixed media prints and works on paper. And so I just am looking forward to continuing to lay that groundwork, create a more well-known reputation, and making it a more sustainable play. I want to see the Nemeth in the future. So I think that's kind of what my role now is to establish. And so on that note, I really appreciate, again, the opportunity to answer these questions and talk a little bit more about what we're doing here. So thank you.